This time on BC Wild, I'm headed into the river valleys of the Cariboo in search of mule deer. It's late November and the bucks are cruising these valleys in search of does. It's 4-point season here in BC and I have 10 days of battling the freezing cold and wind, trudging through the snow, sliding down ridgelines, and searching for big, rutted up bucks. Together, my friends and I are in search of wild food from some of the wildest places BC has to offer. From the Southern Rockies to the Yukon border, on land or underwater, we're always in search of the next big adventure in an attempt to fill our freezers, connect with nature, and learn what it takes to live off the land. Welcome to BC Wild. After setting up a good base camp, I spend the first day working the ridgelines and trying to get a feel of the deer using the valleys. I turn up some does and a few small bucks, but nothing worth noting.
First day hunting muleys this year. Had a bit of a late start. It was a miserable night, about 15, 16 below Celsius. Didn't get very good sleep. Wasn't cold, but I wasn't warm. So, I was up for quite a bit of the night. Slept in a bit this morning when I could get some sleep, so. But we're off to a good start. I've only been here maybe half hour. I got a little spike buck and saw a couple does too. So, the spike's just bedded there. He keeps looking down below him though, so I think I'm gonna try and move my position a bit here. See if I can see a little deeper into the valley. I think there's something probably laying down below him too. Just the way he's acting. So. It's a really good spot. I've had really good luck in here the last few years. 10 whole days to hunt it if I want them. I am hoping to get some time in for whitetails too, so spend the first couple days here looking for a really good mature buck. Since I have the time to do it, and, around day 4 or 5 it might start to become time to find myself a meat buck. It's still 4-point season, so it's easier said than done sometimes.
The next 2 days are relatively slow. I spend my days walking the ridgelines and glassing the valleys below, getting pelted by wind, snow, and cold. I see my share of does, but not a single buck bigger than a forky. I start to worry that the warm October hasn't pushed the deer out of the high country yet, but on the third afternoon a snowstorm blows in, and I'm reassured with fresh sign, including a decent set of buck tracks.
When you're hunting winter range like this and you're not seeing the deer, you start to wonder, maybe they're not here yet. It was a hot October. Late start to snowfall, so maybe they haven't been pushed out of the high country yet. So, that set of tracks is reassuring. I know they're here. I just gotta find them.
fourth morning, I decide to change things up and check some new valleys. These valleys are deeper, with less finger ridges and steeper slopes, but it doesn't take long to start finding some deer.
I'm up on the backside now. I got tons of new land to look over. So I'm just gonna slowly run this top ridge and just do lots of glassing. Spend the whole day back here. Cover lots of ground today, especially with my binos. Just spotted a deer. They're reasonably close, but I believe it's just a doe. It actually be a buck. I think I gotta get my tripod on. This is why I wish I brought my spotter. Definitely a buck. And I think it's just a little forky. Oh, I see a second one and it looks like a decent buck. Second one might be a 4-point. All I could see was rat coming off the top of the hill. I can only see the one here right now. The second one's kind of down in the draw and came up on the one side. You could just see wide and tall. I think there's a really good chance that he'll be a 4-point buck. Tough to get at though. He's down pretty well on the bottom. Oh, here comes the second one now. He's chasing the other one. Yeah, it's gonna be a legal buck. I think on top of being legal, he's actually quite a nice buck. Just looking on maps, I might be able to drop straight down on him. So I think my plan here is to cut off some distance, get up above him, see if I can relocate him. You know, maybe get a count before I drop completely. And even though I am almost positive this is going to be a legal buck. Looks like he had some deep forks. Decently tall, somewhat wide. It's not a monster, but good mature buck nonetheless, I would think. So I cut the distance in half to this buck. I'm almost positive he's a 4-point now, as long as this main beam splits in the front. I kind of got some timber in front of me here that makes it a little bit hard to see, but I'm about 500 yards from him now. The only issue is I have a bit of a sketchy downhill. If I can get over these rocks, then I can easily get in range of him. It's seriously only about 100 feet, but it's gonna be a tough 100 feet. But if I can figure that out, then I'll be right in range. Before I go stumbling down this hill, I want to 100% confirm he's a 4-point. But I'm pretty sure he's a decent buck, and he's got a doe in there with him now too. So keep him occupied. Hopefully, he doesn't move too far.
I've watched this buck for nearly 2 hours now. I'm nearly certain he's legal, and even more certain he's worth cutting the distance to.
There's quite a few deer packed right in here.
I decide to make my move down the cliffs and down into his zone. It doesn't take long to realize just how many deer are stacked into these 3 small valleys. I locate a group of deer I assume is the same I could see from above, but only find a 2-point amongst the does. I side hill to check the next valley and get busted by a lone doe I don't see in the flat below.
So I've got the buck spotted. At first I thought it was just a 2-point because I found a 2-point chasing a bunch of does. So I had to push a little further and bumped a bunch of deer. The 4-point came out running behind him. He's actually a pretty nice buck. He's got big deep fronts. But he's in amongst all this burnt timber, so I'm just kind of waiting for a shot opportunity. I'm 300 yards from him right now. I'm just watching him kind of work through this timber. I need him to clear a branch in front of me, and then I need him to clear some trees that are in and amongst there too. So I'm set up, I'm ready. I just need him to clear some shit, and hopefully we'll have a buck down.
Eventually, the buck and his does disappear into a small gully and give me the opportunity to push forward to a better rest with less obstructions. Still, this buck is amongst a hillside of thick burnt timber and almost knowingly only stops with obstructions in front of his vitals.
I only need this deer to take 3 steps. But every time I need him to take 3, he takes 5.
I sit on this buck for nearly 2 hours, but he never presents me a clean shot. I eventually watch him bed down, and as sunset becomes closer than sunrise, I decide to press my luck.
So I blew it. Watched him bed down. Got a little impatient. And thought I could cut some distance. I didn't mind cutting some distance. The shot, he was about 340, so I don't mind taking a shot that long, but if I can get a little shorter, I'd like to. So I decided to push forward a bit and got caught by a doe that I didn't know was there. And she took the whole herd of deer. I couldn't believe how many deer were actually in there. I didn't realize there was that many, because I watched 8 does and 3 bucks go over the ridge. Just the one 4-point. He gave me one last look and I had a shot, but he was skylined. It's just not responsible shooting, so I'm not going to take that shot. Still got lots of time left. But I got a hellish walk of shame out of here now. And yeah, probably almost 2,000 feet is what I dropped, I figure. So yeah, gonna be a long walk out, but I mean, been a really good day so far, and I'm already here, so I can take my time at the walk out, just hunt everything in here. I've seen a shit ton of deer in here today, probably 30 deer. too bad. Probably 145, 150-ish. Not a giant, but certainly a mature deer, so I would have been super happy to put that one down. But I mean, on the bright side now, I don't have a really brutal pack out, so bit of a positive side, I guess. And I get to keep hunting, get to keep looking for deer. I'm sure he's not the biggest deer.
After a productive 3/4 of a day, a snowstorm decides to blow in and ruin my fun. I decide to make the sketchy climb out of the valley before the snow makes things any more difficult. The next morning I wake up to the valleys encased in fog. I sit on the ridgetop, getting hammered by the wind in hopes that the fog will lift for nearly an hour. As I'm starting to consider heading back to the truck and waiting for the fog to lift, I catch movement out of the corner of my eye. I look up to catch a 4-point buck walking 60 yards away from me. In the seconds it takes me to make the count, he's swallowed back up by the fog and disappears into the valleys below.
So, afternoon, day 5. Kinda took a morning off. I hiked in here first thing this morning, and the whole valley was just socked in with fog. Wind was screaming, it was miserable, couldn't see more than 100 yards. So, I hung out for about 45 minutes just to see if the fog would start to lift. I probably could have dealt with the wind, but there's no sense with the fog. And it cleared a little tiny bit, and about not even 100 yards away, a decent little 4x3 came walking by. Not a huge buck, but still a nice one. And he was on the move. I don't know if he saw me or if something else spooked him. But by the time I got the count, he disappeared back into the fog. So I decided to back out and have a good breakfast. Now I'm back out here for the afternoon. See if I can find him back. I'm hoping he didn't go too far.
I spend the afternoon working my way across the ridgetop, glassing the valleys below with plans to spend the last few hours of light at the point. I arrive at the point around 3 o'clock, and it doesn't take long to turn up a few deer.
So I just spotted a 4-point. Got him at 270 yards here. I think I'm gonna go for it. I think it's that small 4-point. I'm just gonna try and get to the ridge. I should be able to go pro.
I watch this buck chase his does up and down the ridge, never presenting a clear shot through the timber for nearly an hour before he finally decides to bed with his vitals exposed.
buck's gonna get a pass. I have him if I want him. I got him bedded. No shooting obstructions. 307 yards of range span, but he's not in a spot I'm gonna be able to get to him tonight. I've only got about 20 minutes of light left. Yeah, so there's just no way to get to him, so I gotta let him walk tonight. I don't want to end up wasting meat or anything because I couldn't find him and he bones hours overnight. So I'm kind of pinned right now, unfortunately. Him and his does are all bedded, but super cool, decent 4-point. And then there was another buck with them too, and I got to watch them fight, which I've always wanted to see. I've never actually seen in person, so that was exciting. Couldn't see how big the other buck was. Both of them were pretty good bucks, so I would think both are legal. So, just gonna hang tight here, probably till dark, so I don't bust them out of here. And then I'll sneak out of here, be back first thing in the morning. And yeah, the deer are definitely in this valley. They haven't been here, but done the sign this morning, and now I got a couple bucks biting down there, a bunch of does, so it's a good sign. I think tomorrow will be a really good day.
The situation is perfect, but my window is closed. With under a half hour of light left, there's no way I'll be able to find him before dark, and combing a ridge in the pitch black, completely alone, in sub-zero temperatures, isn't somewhere I want to be. As difficult as it is, I decide to let this buck walk. I spend the next morning combing over the valleys I'd watched the bucks the night before, but turn up nothing but a few does. As the day wears on, I decide to swing to the backside and check the valleys where I'd chased the big buck 2 days before. It only takes a few minutes to start turning up some deer.
It's Saturday, so when I came back out for the afternoon, there was 2 trucks parked. Kind of like they were hiked into where I normally hike into, so I decided to come further down the road, and I'm back in that spot I was after that big 4-point the other day. I had my second thoughts about this place, just because the hike was so gnarly in and out. Being by myself, I'm going to have to make 2 trips, and had it just been the hill climb, I would have been okay with it, but the cliff was a little bit sketchy, especially when you're loaded down with meat, so I was unsure if I was going to hunt this spot on my own again. But I decided, just because there was people where I normally would go to come in here tonight and hunt it, and I'd walk the ridge a little further, see if I could find easier places to access it, and I've already found one here. I think there might even be a better one just up around the ridge a little bit more, so I'm sitting here right now just doing a bit of glassing, and then I'm going to walk up the ridge a little bit more, just check for access points, just keep glassing all this bowl below me. That wind is just horrendous tonight. Chills you right to the bone. There's lots of does out and feeding. Just kind of keeping tabs on them. I do think I want to swing around the ridge a little bit still, just to see what access is going to be like. And then I'll probably get back to this spot here. It's a really comfy sitting rock. You can see really well from here. So it's after 3 o'clock now. Time's kind of winding down for the day. But Picked up another 4-point. Oh, he's a really nice buck. Not super wide, but he's tall. He's got good mass, big, deep forks. He's a great looking buck, but unfortunately, I just won't have the time to get on him tonight. But I found way better access into this valley. So I think getting here first thing in the morning and maybe even knock half this hill off. Looks like there's a pretty good spot just down here where I'll be able to class everything, so try and find a back. There's just deer everywhere in these couple of valleys. I've probably seen over 20 already tonight. When I first saw this buck, I saw a doe come sprinting across the ridge. Sorry if the audio is really bad. It's windy as hell. I saw this doe just come sprinting across the ridge. And then seen a buck behind her and glassed them up. I was pretty sure it was a good buck right away. Another buck following him. The three of them were just running a big loop. The big buck would stop and run the little guy off every once in a while. And that doe wanted nothing to do with him. She was at a full sprint, but he wasn't taking no for an answer. She seems to have settled into his presence now. Oh, he's a nice buck. It's 4 points in 2 days now. Concerning the slow start, I can't really complain anymore, I guess. 4 points in 3 days. Yeah, it's turning into a really good hunt. I just gotta get some light into something now. I'm about ready to go home. I wasn't really expecting to be here this long, to be honest. Still got another 4 days to hunt if I want it. Thankfully, my wife is very patient. Because we've done a lot of hunting this year. Unfortunately, I'm been successful, so it means a lot to me to try and get a buck into the freezer here. I haven't bought meat in 4 years, and I don't want to break that streak, so pretty hard to survive off just a bear for 2 people for a full year. So I'm going to keep hunting hard, keep grinding, keep looking for bucks, and I'm bound. It's bound to happen here eventually. I keep getting a little bit closer, things keep getting a little bit better, so tomorrow should be a good day.
The next morning I wake up to 6 inches of fresh snow and it derails my plans to relocate the big buck. The hike down to his valleys is too dangerous alone. With a friend at my side, I may not think twice about this descent, but solo and knowing that being successful means a minimum 2 trips, I decide the risk is not worth the reward and decide to head back to my original valleys, where at least I know I won't have to contend with rocks and cliff faces. As the snowstorm moves out, behind it comes a bitter cold. I tough the day out as the temperature drops to 20 below Celsius and see very little for deer movement. The next morning I wake up to minus 22 and a relentless wind. After 7 hard solo days, I decide to pack it in. This isn't an easy decision. I've invested a lot of time and effort into this hunt, and my main goal is to head home with a cooler full of meat. I had visions of leaving here with a beautiful rack poking out of my truck box and was looking forward to a day of butchering and processing venison. Anything short of that feels like a failure, but failure can be a good thing. It makes you focus harder on the mistakes you made, the lessons you learned, and motivates you to be better next year. Take your time. Be more patient. Stay motivated. Enjoy the small things. I'll spend all year thinking about this hunt and dreaming of big bucks, and you better believe coming up short this year will only motivate me to be a better hunter next November.